now in declining mobility, cases, positivity, and hospitalizations.
So again, thank you, Rogers technicians. You're the geniuses. Make sure no one knows anything ever, ever, ever. They won't know we're attacking a different company's property because they just won't know because they're stupid.
Cases will likely grow again in late February, with ICU admissions increasing afterwards. Aggressive vaccination and sticking with the stay-at-home order will help avoid a third wave, a third lockdown. Some key mental health indicators
missed all the important parts here.
However, critical and important measures such as emergency department admissions, opioid deaths, and care for eating disorders are worsening. Let me start with the first slide on mobility. If you look here, you can see mobility across a number of provinces. Ontario is the lowest line here in the blue, and you can see following the public health restrictions that started late in December in the stay-at-home order, you see a break in the return to pre-holiday mobility, and you see it relatively flat there. That lower mobility is what has actually helped reduce cases by reducing the contacts. And you can see how that lower mobility traces into lower total cases. They are still high in some of our public health units, but you can see overall cases have come down for Ontario with 69 weekly cases right here reported for 100,000 residents. But you can also see it coming down in virtually every public health unit. This pattern is repeated when we look at percent positivity. You can see still that it is high in some communities, but overall it's come down, and it's come down in virtually every community over the last little while. This pattern is consistent across age groups. As you can see here, looking at different age deciles or 10-year age groupings, cases have come down. That's the top panel. They've come down the greatest degree in older Ontarians, which is an important move and good news. Tests have come down slightly, but not enough to make us concerned about the drop in cases. And percent positivity has also come down substantially. In this case, greatest among younger Ontarians. Vaccine administration continues. We're now over 425,000 doses. And this is important when we consider the focus on long-term care. And in this slide, the focus that we see on deaths. And so the orange part of each bar reflects the deaths that have occurred in long-term care. The gray and black parts represent deaths outside of long-term care in Ontario in the first wave and the second wave. And you can see here, particularly in the first wave, but very strongly in the second wave as well, that the majority of deaths have occurred in long-term care homes. That's why the vaccination and prioritizing long-term care homes for vaccination has been so important, as it helps prevent deaths. There is data coming in from some of the public health units that we're starting to see higher death rates in the community. Again, though, this is in older Ontarians and reflects the importance of prioritizing vaccinations to where they can do give the greatest benefit. We go here, you can see again the translation of the vaccination into important sort of key indicators in long-term care. We show this slide virtually every briefing. The orange line is the daily active cases in residents, and as you can see here, it has declined significantly as vaccinations have increased across long-term care homes. The yellow line is daily active cases in staff, and you can see that's come down well as well. And the green line, which is the cumulative deaths, is starting to flatten out and plateau there at the top. Were I to share with you the data, or on this chart, the data that we received this morning, we have actually now only 194 long-term care homes in outbreak, and unfortunately we have had 925 residents die since the beginning of the year, in January 1st. What this means, though, is that we're now essentially equivalent in terms of the number of deaths in the second wave that we saw in the first wave, and the deaths in the second wave in long-term care will continue, so we will exceed the number of deaths in the first wave in this current wave. You can see here the decline in cases translating into a decline in hospitalizations. The orange bars in this chart reflect the change in hospital inpatients with COVID-19 over time, starting back at the beginning of August and completing on the close to where we are today. You can see that it's come down.
And we can see, buddy, do you know that like all the media is there to hear you talk?
But you can see as well those red bars, which is ICU patients. has not changed substantially. And so IC use is flat, and this represents still a significant strain on the system. So mobility is down, cases are down, hospitalizations are down, positivity is down. This is good news. The challenge is the growth of the new variants. These new variants, particularly B117, are likely between 5 and 10% of cases right now in the province. That's up substantially from what we were seeing at the beginning of last month. And it's important to keep in mind that these variants transmit much more easily. So wherever you are with your R or your reproduction number for the current variants, you need to have a much lower R overall to really stop the transmission of these variants in the tracks. The panel on the right-hand side may actually provide a good visual illustration of that. So the top curve is the total number of cases. And as you can see right now, that next curve down that says non-VOC, that's the current variant of the virus. Those cases are declining, and we see that in our data, and that's driving the current decrease in cases. But as the variant of concern spreads and becomes the dominant strain of the virus, you will see it actually start to drive up more cases because it is that much more transmissible. And at some point, the old variant and the new variant curves cross, and that starts to drive increasing cases. We're thinking that this increase in cases will likely be sometime in late February or early in March. Work that I saw from the Fields Institute of Mathematics this morning shows that the decrease in our cases appears to be slowing using some of their advanced modeling, and that likely we will see the turnaround soon. Now, according to the estimates we have, we would need to have a reproduction number of around 0.7 to be able to control the cases, and I'll show some charts on that in a second. I think it's important to note that our current reproduction number is not 0.7, and that we've only really approached 0.7 in very rare intervals in this pandemic.
Thank you.
Important to note, as I said,
now everybody thought it was 0.7. And it's not.
Are effective against all variants.
They just lied.
And important to note
just
as well
told you the
that
truth.
Two new variants.
They tell the truth just as quickly as they lied.
And P1, which was first detected in Brazil, have also been detected in Ontario. And these are, again, highly transmissible variants with some risk that they are vaccine escapees. Let me give an illustration of the importance of how we keep the overall reproduction number down using data from Toronto. On this chart, you can see observed cases. That's the total cases. That's the top orange line. You can see the gray line that really follows for a great degree of time, that orange line. That is the old variant cases. And if we keep the reproduction number down to 0.7, you can see that it also keeps that new variant suppressed, and that's the blue line there, so that the total number of cases really becomes flat here in Toronto. But if the reproduction number is higher at 0.9, in this chart, as you can see, it starts to drive a growth in cases despite declining transmission of the old variant, or the one that we see most commonly in Ontario right now. And so it's very critical that the control of the variant and the new cases is in place. You can't selectively control one or the other. You just need to keep the same measures in place to be able to control the growth in the virus. Now, this is a series of models looking at a best, a worst, sort of a probably likely close to our current state case. I'd like to focus just to talk, for instance, about what these different estimates mean of cases. We're looking at different estimates around when we might relax public health measures, either soon or closer to the end of the month, or beginning of March. We're trying to estimate the effective when it is that B117 actually arrived in Ontario, and looking at different estimates around transmissibility, although virtually
November 24th, got on December 1st. And if it wasn't in there, it was a couple of days after.
What you can see here is under the sort of probably likely or most likely scenario, which is the middle orange line, we would expect with our current situation, we would have between 5,000 and 6,000 cases by the end of March. This, I think, importantly actually translates into a significant burden on ICUs, and that's because the majority of ICU admissions actually arise outside of long-term care. And so if you contrast this chart with the one that we showed you on deaths, you can see here that the orange bars, that's the ICU cases arising in long-term care homes, is actually only a small fraction of the total ICU admissions. Most of those admissions come in those sort of darker bars, which are people living in the community, somewhere between 40 and 80 years old or older. And so vaccination, although important and critical, focused on long-term care, won't actually necessarily affect a significant amount of the long-term care or of the ICU admissions in the province right now. And this translates over the short run. Please recognize that these are short-run estimates that we present here, into, again, a significant growth in the number of ICU admissions by the end of March, with the total beds starting to creep up, probably close again to 400 in our most likely case. If we have the best case, you will see that the ICU admissions actually do, or the ICU occupancy does actually drop below 150 beds, although it does start to curve up again and start to rise again by the end of March. The worst case scenario presents, again, a very significant risk to ICU functioning and hospital functioning, with close to 700 beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. And I think it's important to note that even with a very finely tuned vaccination schedule, looking at very optimistic vaccination numbers, the difference between opening and closing, the difference between kind of a best case and a worst case scenario does translate into hundreds of ICU admissions, and it does translate into 400 to 500 more deaths under different models. I think it's important to keep in mind, while we look at this is not distributed across Ontario equally. The regional pictures we show this variation, and it's not distributed within our communities in any equitable way. This is an estimate of the excess death that we've seen since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and this really reflects both excess death from COVID-19 and from other related causes or other causes. And you can see that the lowest estimates of excess death, although there is still excess death, more than we would expect to see, is in the highest income quintiles. Those are the dark lines at the bottom of the chart. And the highest level of excess death is in our poorest communities, and that's the lightest colors at the top there. And this is almost a twofold difference that has emerged in a relatively short period of time. Our estimates here only go to the middle of August. Now, important to note that virtually every survey that we see, every poll documents clearly feelings of stress, distress, anxiety, frustration, depression. With the mental health measures that we're able to look at right now, some of these measures are stable, reflecting the resilience of people. I'm showing you here dispensing of benzodiazepines, which is a common medication for mental health. You can see it's roughly stable over a number of years. That red dotted line indicates the onset of the pandemic as declared by the World Health Organization. I can show you very similar charts for antipsychotics or antidepressant medications. However, there are other measures which are much more concerning and show challenges in people getting access to the care they likely need. These are emergency department visits for mental health or substance use related concerns. And you can see a substantial drop in these emergency department visits with the onset of the pandemic. I think important to note here, this is not reflecting a drop in need. Knowing what we know about alcohol consumption and substance use right now, we might expect actually to see a higher level of visits. So there's a problem with people getting to the care that they need, with obviously serious consequences for their health. And you can see even more significant consequences for health here in the opioid death rates here. It's important to note that this is a critical issue, and it is a critical issue that did not start with the pandemic. Opioid death rates have been rising for a while, but they have continued to rise through the pandemic. And you can see that a red dotted line indicating the onset of the pandemic. The green bars are confirmed opioid deaths. The yellow are probable, and the blue is suspect drug-related deaths. You can see that they continue to climb to quite high levels during the pandemic. And finally, this is data that has been noted before, but this is eating disorder visits and admissions to hospital for Ontarians 3 years to 17 years of age. If you look at where the pandemic would have started, really kind of that March or April period of time, you can see a substantial increase in the rate of admissions and the rate of emergency department visits. The dotted line in each case indicates the average rate, and it has climbed significantly for both of these measures. So just to finish off with key findings, The public health measures are paying off right now in declining mobility cases, positivity, and hospitalizations. This is not anything that happens by chance. Focusing vaccination in long-term care homes is paying off with declining daily deaths. ICU occupancy, however, is flat, and the access to care deficit will continue to grow. The B117 variant of concern is spreading in Ontario, and cases will likely grow again in late February or early March, with ICU admissions increasing afterwards. Aggressive vaccination and public health measures like a stay-at-home order will help avoid a third wave and a third lockdown, and we will have relatively little time to change course if we need to. And although some key mental health indicators are changed, other key measures are worsening. I'll just finish here with a quick list of the scientists who contributed to the work presented today. And also here, just the teams that have reviewed the content that was presented today. And with that, we can stop the presentation, and I will turn it over to Dr. Williams again.
Well, thank you, Dr. Brown. And as you can see, the projections, as Dr. Brown said, it's two messages. One is that our measures have and are working. We have the risk of the variants that has come on us. We started talking about more with you on this by mid-January. We're giving you more updates as we moved into these days here, and with updates from our scientists. And now we have some data that shows again the challenge that is ahead of us. But as Dr. Brown's alluded to, with public health measures and things we're asking people to do, we can impact this and make a difference. Let's look at our numbers. Since the last time we talked, our 7-day average of COVID-19 cases is 1,264. Today's number, 945, well, maybe encouraging. We had this before, we're having a data entry issue with most of it to Toronto as they shifted over to the case contact management system in the province. And so I would think that they're missing somewhere around 2 or 3 cases today. So our number probably more today is around the upper 1,100, maybe 1,200 in reality. But we've been staying around that 1,000, 1,100 for the last few days, and that's encouraging. Our trends in the time period, for the period of this last one, the 29th of January to February the 4th, we're down to 1,600, whereas the week before, the 22nd of January to the 28th, we're at 2,128. That's a significant drop. Yet at the same time, our testing volumes have remained up. They're dipping a little bit, but not too bad, as we're doing some other things there. So we went down to 28,303 on Monday, 30,798 on Tuesday. Testing volumes were back up to 52,504, and today we're at 68,812. Our positivity rate is down to 2.3%. That's our lowest rate since October the 17th. So we're getting back to where we were in the middle of the fall. We still have some roads to go. As Dr. Brown's alluded to, and you can see our data, the ICU admissions are a late responder, as well as hospitalizations. So while we're down to 340, that's down from where we were in the low 400s. We still have a way to go, and we have to watch that and monitor that. We are now adding to our reports on variants. As we announced, we are going to be testing all positives and run them through our special PCR screening for the 501 variant, and then doing the genomic sequencing after that. And we're purporting to try and give you the data you have on what these variants mean in general basis, province-wide, as well as specifically some areas. So we have now confirmed 239. Our positivity, when we did our, as you talked about last week, with our point prevalence on the 20th of January was 1.3%. As of February the 3rd, it is 6.7%. As Dr. Brown has noted, and as Dr. Allen noted, the doubling time for the, especially the UK variant, we know, is much quicker. Usually about 7 to 10 days as compared to 2 weeks. Keep that in mind, that means today, we're probably well up to around 11 to 14%. But we'll have to be informed by the data and information. So far of our variants, 236 of the 239 are the UK B117. 3 are the South African, the B1351. We have one that we're working up with a Brazilian that we're still looking at the laboratory testing to see if it really is. And sometimes with the technology, we have to take a little bit more time to make sure the genomic sequencing is correct before we dedicate that to be that specific variant. But we're on the watch, and we're noting. We noted that our VOCs are spread out with 12 health units, the ones we've genomically sequenced. We've notified a number of health units that they have a 501 and has been identified in their data, still to be sequenced. So the one sequence so far, most of course have been in, not of course, but have been noted in the Simcoe-Muskoka area.
Look up Captain Trippz.
In Barrie, it was more in the related to the outbreak at the long-term care and retirement home, mostly in the former, with 130 cases of the UK variant. 29 in Toronto, 28 in York, 23 in Peel, 11 in Durham. But they are spread over 12 health units, and we'll see some more as the issue escalates, and according to what Dr. Brown has projected in the forecasting and modeling. So based on this, 80% of our variants of concern are either outbreak associated or with close contact of a confirmed case. 11% so far have known epidemiological link, and 8% are travel related. Some of these ones with these links and contacts, we can only go back so far as what people can recollect. And because of their ease of transmission, it makes it even more challenging to your case contact management. Before I talk about general issues, we also like to report on our adverse events related to vaccination because people are asking that. So far, in the data I'm reporting today of 380,000 vaccinations, as Dr. Brown's alluded to, we're well over that now. This is of the data I'm giving it to you. We have 287 adverse events, of which 283 are classified as non-serious, and 4 is more serious. And those are most are mild ones are allergic skin reactions and local pain at the site. Of the 4 serious ones, we had 2 where we had an allergic or anaphylactic reaction. 1 unusual event, the details are not available, and 1 had to do with renal injury. And there, all these ones were hospitalized but reported to be fully recovered. So where does that leave us? We're in a very, I know Dr. Brown didn't use it today, but he probably would have. We're in a precarious, continuous situation at this time. We have our numbers coming down, and that's to the credit of what you've done and the hard work you put forward. It shows you that staying home, doing the public health measures, wearing a mask when you're out, wearing a proper mask, wearing it properly, when you cannot maintain 2-meter distance, being careful with only contact without a mask with your household members. And if you have any illness, that to stay home or to get assessed for testing. And with that, we have opened up nearly half our schools for in-class attendance, and the rest will be opening up on Tuesday in Toronto, Peel, and York region. We have already opened up, we already have moved into the framework, I should say, the 3 health units that are in the so-called green level of the framework. And I want to address that because while the Premier and the Minister,
I want to address that because I'm running for a career.
Have commented that while we're going back into the framework, this is not an opening up. With the variants of concern and what Dr. Brown has shown us and warned us about is that while we can open up some aspects within the framework, we can't open up writ large. We have to be more vigilant and more careful with our personal contact.
Open up with large.
Our contact,
Did you say that?
We found throughout this time, one of our challenges we've had is people either by various methods have decided that it wasn't necessary, have been a bit more casual, sometimes with close contacts with people, forgot to wear the mask, had a chat with someone for 5 or 10 minutes.
People walk up, pull the mask off, and yell at you.
That might have got away with that with the other COVID strain. This new one does not permit that. You just need a very short contact, and you can transmit. People say, I just talked to someone for a few minutes, and I don't know how I got it.
What I say about Tussie?
And people are surprised at how
what did I say about Tussie?
And how easily it is transmitted. That means even if you are in some things that are more available,
I'm very certain I got it from him, but I don't see how, except airborne, strictly airborne.
Still stay at home if you don't need to go out. Still make sure you limit your contacts when you hustle. Still wear a mask when you're out and around. A proper one.
When you hustle.
Still wear proper.
Still.
Hand hygiene.
Still,
If you're sick,
brother.
stay home.
Still.
That means very careful screening of your children before they go to school. If you have any concerns, even if they seem to be not sure about what symptoms and that, and you think they might have had contact public health, and we'll try to arrange for you to get tested, your child, siblings, and the family as soon as we can. Because we want to help you and help us to keep our schools open and to inform you and overcome your doubts and concerns. When we get those tests done, if there's a positive, as I said before, we'll be vetting that through our PCR system for assessing the 501 mutation on real time. Because you may say, could it be the variation? We want to know, and we want you to know if it is, and give you some more advice and direction in that regard. So, we have allowed 3 of the health units as of yesterday to go into the green zone, and they have done so. Some have put in some stipulations, and I think they're good stipulations. The communities in the areas have done well to keep the rates down. When they're opening up some of their facilities, those are really for the local community, and they've asked that only the local community should access those. In a way, I applaud that kind of direction. In a way, stay at home. If you do need to go out, stay local. Don't travel around. So we're not encouraging intra-provincial travel or inter-provincial travel. We certainly don't encourage international travel. I think that's a critical issue. And then you're going to have to go through the proper systems to put in place. So we need to say, as we announce here, sometime tomorrow, if there are some more people entering the framework, that just means they're in the framework. It does not mean any lifting of the personal protection. That's where most of our transmission takes place. People gathering, people in their households, people meeting, people have get-togethers. What was thought to do it casually, that with the new variants is no longer permissible and is going to be really hazardous, and it could bring us back into a worse situation and into a lockdown again. So those are my overall messages. We're in a precarious time. We're trying to get our vaccine supplies back up and get our program of vaccination back up to full speed as soon as we can. We're doing the best we can. We're seeing evidence of our program was reducing deaths in the long-term care homes. It's a start. We're getting there. So that's happening, but it's not as quick as we'd like it because we're delayed. We have the VOCs picking up, the variants of concern. And as Dr. Brown alluded to, we may start to really ramp up in the early part of March, especially by the middle of March. That's a tenuous time. And also we have our schools back, and we are putting some back into the framework. All these are challenging. But if we do it right, if we do it carefully, if we do it with precautions, if we do a lot of testing, do a lot of assessment, just like we have before, I think we can win on this one too. We can keep the curve down. We can keep our schools open, our long-term care facilities safe, our retirement homes safe, and our hospital load decreased, our ICU numbers down, and more regular surgical issues that are still waiting, still need to be done. And we don't want to delay those anymore than we have to. So all things have to come together in the next few weeks. So really focus, really stay tuned to this, and we'll update you as soon as we can with all the data to inform you how we are collectively doing. So that I'm going to open up for questions from the media.
Trap house.
We'll go to the phone lines. Just a reminder.
Trap house, he's a trap mouse, motherfucker. Watch your mouth, man.
Please.
You call him a rat again, I'm going to kill you.
First question comes from Rob Ferguson from the Toronto Star. Rob, please go ahead.
Hi, Doctor. Just trying to parse all this. We heard some kind of stern warnings from Dr. Brown there about what could happen with B117, and apparently 5 to 10% of cases are variants. I don't know if that means daily new cases are 5 to 10% variants, or if that's overall. You could clarify that. But how do people make sense of what you're saying, that some places are going back into the framework or are already back into the framework with eased restrictions, but that we have to get the reproduction number down? I don't think people can make sense of that. I'm certainly having trouble with it.
Let me ask Dr. Brown to comment on, you asked about the percent and the impacts of the percent of variance, and then I'll come back.
White people have 1.6 kids for every 2 adults. And Indians have 3.2. You got it yet? You understand all
right now, probably 5 to 7, 8, at least when we're doing our modeling. Dr. Williams has talked about a number that's even potentially higher. What happens if this starts to look like a hockey stick?
Where did all this water
up,
come
and so
from?
it's
What the
not a
fuck's
linear
going on
curve,
here? I did not score this
progression. It
much
will actually
water.
curve up and up and up and become a higher and higher proportion of the cases. And as it
Oh,
becomes
so I see what I did because I'm stupid. That math.
strain, you'll see it actually start to drive total cases up. Unless you get into something like what the United Kingdom felt compelled to do eventually, which is a very, very strict lockdown that dropped their arm.
Yeah, they tried to apply it to the whole world right now. That played out. The bridge is falling down.
And further to your question about re-entering the framework. Remember, the framework was set up as a regional constraint. So it isn't an opening. And so if you're entering back in gray, you're going to see some new restrictions on there. Some open up a little bit, not much. So there's not much change if you're open into red, etc. So it's not that the doors are thrown wide open. Yes, the first three were picked because they were green. Their RE or I is very low. And that is fortunate for them. And someone say they've done a good job at keeping that.
What do you think of
they
me?
hope to stay that way. So just because we're allowing the framework is a varied level of constraint that is going to be maintained. And as we do that weekly, if you come down, open up into a certain level,
you can't even fight off the
if we find the
cold
data,
virus.
you've gone up, you go back up to the next level and back up into a constraint area. There's also in the new methodology a so-called emergency rate.
It's legit to fly. Oh,
if there's something rapidly happening, especially with variants of concern,
underestimated my people.
and you need to assess that with consultation and proper system very quickly,
it's legit to fly.
I can recommend, and we can bring that back down into a lockdown position until the assessment's done. We've done it already.
You're polyethylene or not?
North Bay was worried about all of a sudden they had a whole influx from having very few cases to having an outbreak of VOCs or variants of concern within an area, and they may have only have 11 or 12 that they're working on right now. That happened very rapidly. The medical officer just consulted with me. I consulted and said, "You're not going to open up into green. You're staying in lockdown." And they're trying to evaluate that situation until that's done. So we have those checks in place, and knowing that the framework is mobile, so that if there is rates increasing,
have you seen
the colors will go back up from yellow to orange to red, back into gray.
Scared of all the
And if lockdown is necessary, then it's necessary. So the framework reinsertion is not a wide opening. It's just where it is at the moment.
Damn, we forgot to reinsert the framework. Oh, we got to get back up there.
If you do those polygon measures, it's spread from person to person. The variant, while being more easily spread, is spread by the same way. Still the distancing, still the masking, still the proper procedures. If everybody did that all the time in every correct way,
you cough and sneeze in a room,
we wouldn't see
if the air isn't like exhausted and so forth, that virus will be floating around in that room. It can be detected in that room a year later.
So we can drop
they knew that
1,000,
in the 90s.
Even if they're 50% on the variance,
we're reading about
if we can keep that
90,
down,
91.
I would be very satisfied with that. But can we?
That's when they said there were 200 coronavirus variants. That was a long time ago.
Okay, thanks, Doctor. I see your point on how that works theoretically, but we found time after time that when things relax a bit, people also seem to relax their precautions and start going to the neighbor's house or have a birthday party, that kind of thing. And then
happy birthday, Manuel Noriega. If I remember correctly, Interpol has him locked up in France. Unless he's dead. Why would he be dead? He's a prisoner of Interpol. It's not like he's
died. Generally speaking, unless there's constraints, that hasn't happened.
I think you raise a good point. In the first wave, we had great adherence. People were very worried and concerned. When we started during the second wave, people were saying, maybe it's not such a big deal. People got complacent, and people did not adhere. We know that from the data. Right now, my read is people saying, we're looking at the variants of concern. We're seeing on the new media live time what is and what has and is happening in the UK. We see it's not artifactual, it is real, it's having real impacts. And people are now saying this is concerning.
Screw up 3 different words, but I understood them all 3 times.
In fact,
that
it
was a little
does
weird.
have higher transmission rates in younger people too, even in children. So it's not as people got used to, I think, the old one and got sort of casual. We're giving you the data today. Casualness is not on, because we have this new issue right in our face, evolving right there. So people have to get, I guess, it have to be worried and fearful to maintain the
The
proper
woman talking
procedures they
shit
need
out
to
my
do.
ass make more
And you
sense to me.
cannot be concluding that it won't impact me. That would be
There's COVID
the
here.
wrong
Keep
conclusion to
moving.
make. Everybody has
10
to do their
steps per
part.
second. Let's go.
Next question.
We need her
Your
voice
next question
on
comes
these shit
from
bits and all that
Ryan
shit.
Bowie
Pitbull.
from
Keep
Toronto
moving.
Sun.
One
Ryan,
question,
please
one
go ahead.
follow-up. One push-up, one burpee, 2 laps.
You mentioned that many of the cases that are going into ICU are not from long-term care facilities or even from the 80-plus crowd. So I'm wondering what that means for our vaccination plan going forward. Obviously, I think we've got all but 4 to 6 homes that are fully vaccinated now across the province with at least the first dose. So as the numbers of doses ramp up over the next week or so, should we be looking at making sure that everyone 80 plus is vaccinated, or should we be looking
Everybody
at
over 80
different
gets vaccine, guys. Everybody over 65, they don't produce an immune system response
showing up
that's
in
useful enough to bother.
ICU or in
If you're
hospital
going to use
admissions? What
vaccines,
should we be doing?
there's no reason to have all these toxic
to
metals in them.
diminish
Anaphylactic shock. How you doing in an
hospitalizations
anaphylactic
using
shock? You
Well,
think the
thank you.
viral
And that's
material
why
would put you into that? No, because it's
data
deoxyribonucleic
analytics
acid,
looking at that,
which is what
because
you're
a lot of
built of.
people
You
are
can't
assuming
be
that
allergic to that.
a lot of the long-term care ones were moving over into the
Would have
hospital. and
DNA
somehow-
in some else.
And I think there's 2 challenges we have there. One is reduce mortality,
That's
long-term care.
the hazard analysis and critical control points.
and we're making some headway.
You have 2 dozen different people going into
We do
these
need
old
those
people's
2
rooms.
doses
You're not going to
into those
vaccinate them.
people
You're going to
because their
vaccinate the
immune
3
systems are
people in
not
the room.
robust
You're
as younger
geniuses.
people
So the
And we wanna make
PSWs
sure
don't get
that
sick
they are
from the
covered.
old people.
in that. The
The
second thing is that
PSWs,
when we're
not
looking
one
at the wider
PSW
group,
got sick from the
we
old
still have
person.
our priority groups in
It's
northern remote communities
impossible.
with First Nations.
Old people are in the
There's a
house.
population of others
You're going back and
who don't
forth.
have
The
regular
virus came
access
in
to
from
the
somewhere
healthcare
else.
system.
So it's
And
impossible
so we
to
want to
get
make sure
sick that way.
that's covered. So we got to complete
Oh,
the task
let's
we
get
have
us
with
an anecdote. Yeah, it could have. It could
both
have.
with
Some of
the,
it could be that. The
residents
vast
as well as
majority
with
won't be.
staff at our long-term care facilities.
If you got it from an old
We
person,
are
some
worried about
other
our
young
healthcare workers.
dickhead
We wanna
brought it
make
to
sure
that
those
old
who do the
person
frontline
first,
care
because they didn't go
are
nowhere.
also covered. We also are watching the supply.
Yeah, one of
Because
those
that's the biggest
15
issue.
passenger vans,
And
diesel,
in order
four-wheel
to cover
drive.
what you're
Drive
asking
these
for,
old
we
people
like
everywhere.
that challenge right in front of us to
Get a
say,
bull bar on the
if
front
you're going
of
to
the
start
van, you
doing
think
the
I'm
radios out in the
joking.
community,
You get the
you're not
fuck
talking
over
about a
there. That's
small
the old
number, you're
people
talking about a lot of
van. You better
people.
get out the way.
The encouraging part, as you saw from Dr. Brown's data,
That nigga don't
is
give a
that over
fuck.
80 group in the
15 old
community
people in
is
that
not a
van, they ain't
huge
gonna tell the
amount.
cops
It's
nothing. He
there.
does.
They, I think, for the most part, are being very
They
careful.
got to get
Family
the
members are being
bingo,
very
damn it.
careful around not exposing them.
Taking
So
straight
that's
to the
good
race.
news. At the same time, if we're going to move on that, we have about 600,000. We need a lot more vaccine. As soon as we get it, we're going to be doing
How
it.
about we do
And we're gonna have
drive-in
different
radio
priority areas. So
bingo?
that's our challenge, is a very careful
We can do that.
moving through
We can do
doing the
radio
different priority
bingo.
ones in the best order, getting them done.
What's a
moving to
drive-in?
the
It's a
next one,
parking lot.
ensuring we have the best quality and according to the plan and priorities that we laid out. So we have been paused. This coming week, we're going to start getting more Pfizer. We're not sure when the Moderna is going to pick up. And we're still waiting to see if other vaccines are going to be approved from Health Canada, such as the AstraZeneca products. So there's a lot of things at play here. And we would like to start to address those issues as well. But priorities first, we're going to address it and get it to as
You
quick
know
as we
my
can.
people.
The faster we have the vaccine.
We got to vaccinate 8 billion people with marijuana cigarettes. We'd be like, oh, hold on, we got
we
it
need the vaccine.
on lock.
Dr.
Let me
Brown,
go
I'd
into
like
the
to make some
cooler,
comments.
check out what's in this deep freezer, and get to work on this
It's
one.
really an issue of vaccinating where you're going to see the biggest payoff.
Drug companies.
And that means vaccinating people who are vulnerable, that's older adults. It means vaccinating in those communities that are hardest hit by the pandemic.
the older people.
And
Where
we actually
the
look at
fuck
that
is
on
the
almost
logic?
a,
They all just spot on. This
critical
is how you know none of them's actually reading
post-COVID
anything.
level.
They're just hearing
And
people
it's
talk
everyone
after.
just
I like all
That
this
dealing with
stuff.
those
This
settings
will
that
make me
are very
sound good.
vulnerable, whether they be shelters or retirement
Where's the
homes.
logic?
And those communities
of
like the First
vaccinating
Nations
the
communities
person
may
that
not
don't
have
go
ready access
nowhere
to the healthcare system in
Where
the same way
the
that,
vaccine won't work because they don't have a
other
strong enough
places
immune
would.
system. Their immune system is
So, you know,
very
you just wonder where
experienced. It
you'll
knows
have the
all
biggest
the
impact.
antibodies it needs to make. It's not strong enough to make them. Just like mine.
So,
You can't make me sick because my immune system's
over the last few months, where there have been
new.
hot spots, where we're talking healthcare workers and
Because
PSWs,
I
in
got
Scarborough,
white blood
we're
cells.
talking warehouse workers and meatpacking plant workers in Peel, we're talking farm workers in Windsor, Essex. At some point, do you have to say, yes, we want to vaccinate everyone over 80 plus, which is only 600,000, and the fact that we can't vaccinate 600,000 people easily is.
Why are you trying to vaccinate the old people? I don't want them to make me sick.
Do we have to?
Why not? You get paid sick days, stupid. This is all going to fall apart, man.
Going to the areas where we keep seeing spread, where we keep seeing people ending up in ICUs.
So I think you've raised a very good point.
You sound like a
And
cop
the issue
who's
we're trying to say
refusing to
Our
fucking
main issue
charge
right now is
somebody
public
that's
health
right
measures.
there that just committed a
And
crime
what
right
we're
from
trying to do in
assault.
those settings you're noting,
If you'll let
like
me
today,
finish.
first day,
He's not letting me
even with
finish.
the usual one staff case, sometimes we see
10 minutes in
no
that truck with the heater running.
reported.
It's 3 minutes to the
We've
police
seen the
station.
impact of the deaths coming down.
Dumbass.
We're
That's
working
why
on
your
that.
boss yelled at
The
you
ones
so
you're talking
quietly.
about, because you're talking about workplaces, those ones have full capability
Did he
of preventing
mention-
those outbreaks.
I don't have charter rights, you fucking
want testing.
retard.
We're moving in more testing to those workplaces. We
You're
want to
gonna
make
lie
sure
to
that
me, make it good.
strict
dumbass.
adherence to occupational health and safety, including having staff wearing proper PPE and protection, distancing, staying over ill, and there were other ways to try and assist that. Our high-risk communities. We're running on a program to work with those communities to try and deal with the issue of how do you isolate in a multi-generational house, and how do we assist in that to help that
The whole house isolates.
high-risk
Well, how
adopter
come none of you
to
understands the
make
concept of
sure that
quarantine?
is
I just want to
carefully.
point it out a little.
So
No.
our public health measures are
You
still
fucked
to be
up the
strictly
Atlantic
carried out.
bubble. A doctor
In that,
infected
and then we're
160
having some
people.
workers getting infected in their home and community
There's no
setting.
rules apply to me.
How do we stop that? With our public health measures, of course, and with ramping up our testing, our screening, and so we're continuing to look at many different venues to do that. While we wait and get ready for the vaccine to come, and get all our systems in place, that when it comes, we can step up and deliver it really quickly to the right ones, even with some categorization, as Dr. Brown has alluded to, so we make the best impact when we get it. So those are important points to keep in mind.
Next question.
Your next question comes from John McGrath from TDO. John, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Dr. Brown, I'm a bit confused by this presentation. You say that sticking with the stay-at-home order will help, but the stay-at-home order is ending almost everywhere in Ontario on Tuesday. You say that RT needs to be below 0.7, and we have never actually achieved that. And we're about to, if not real,
They told us last week, at the beginning of this week, that they did.
Those public health measures, you say, as
I told you, they make up the numbers as they go. They present things however they want.
Am I missing something here, or is this presentation actually predicting a disaster?
You missed nothing, brother.
No, I don't think you're missing anything. The cases will likely rise given the variants of concern. The need to keep that R down is really, really critical.
Still.
But there are a number of things that need to be weighed in making these decisions.
Still.
For Dr. Williams,
Still.
we have moved the March break to mid-April now, but we have these projections showing that cases could already be rebounding very substantially by end of March, early April. I'm just trying to figure out how does that make sense if we move the March break to a time when the model suggests that infections could be on the rise.
I think if you look at the data that Dr. Brown has showed you, is that we're going to see the upswing.
The book
if it's
books
going to
in
occur,
here,
if we're
getting
measuring
that money
effect
off the
in
books
the early
this
part of
year.
March. By April, it's already taken effect. So we really didn't want to have
I
that,
made my life expectancy
because we
today.
saw a large
Just barely.
increase in infection rates among the youth when they're out of school. We didn't want that coming consistent in the public health measure table at the same time as when we saw the modeling, when the curve in the hockey stick is really starting to pick up.
What did you say,
Of course, a
hockey
lot of
stick?
people in the March break mentality are thinking of traveling. I hope not, but I think they were thinking of going somewhere out of the country. That was not what we're recommending at all. Of course, we're saying don't.
Yeah, we're just going to get away
And
from
that's
this
part of why
pandemic.
we have a stay-at-home order. We may be stopping the stay-at-home order, but we still want people to stay at home. And we hope that by the behavior they learned will last well, and they can see the fruit of that, the benefit of that.
You ever
We've
see a
done the
dog
numbers.
who has learned a
So it's
lesson,
not artificial. It
approaching
doesn't
the
work.
same place? Maybe it was a
So
squirrel
keep
he
doing
chased and smacked his head
But
off
if
a
you
fire
have
hydrant.
the need
And
to
the
go to
next time he
some
sees that squirrel, he
facility
just
that
for
now
a
is
second, he's
available,
about to chase him.
do so
I learned my
only when you
lesson.
need to. do so
Human
regularly,
beings.
do so with proper
Oh,
protection
that's what's wrong.
and distancing,
Set
all things in place. That's the key.
Step away from this.
And so, while this is a projection, I wouldn't say it's a prediction of disaster. It says it tells you that by doing A, B, or C, you could end up with consequences.
D,
And by staying the
E,
course,
A, D.
there still is a good scenario there. That's why we do the modeling, to say, the public want to say, what does that mean for us? Why should we stay the course? Why should we keep it this? We can't be any clearer on that.
Here's the deal: what nobody's getting.
They think somehow they can figure out who this disease is going to affect worse. No, there's people who are immune to HIV, but you can't take that as a given that you won't get it because some people are immune.
Are you recommending that the province do anything else?
People don't seem to understand that you get infected when one piece of viral material gets into one cell in your head or it's in your body at all, and antibodies start attacking it.
Right now, our effective is around 8.1.
And eventually, either there's enough of that viral material, or it's mutated enough, or you're wore out enough, and it starts reproducing like crazy.
In there, and we are anticipating with our numbers right now, we may be dropping below 0.8. So we're going in the right direction. But I'd like it already down at 0.7.
Your buddy just said that it's not 0.7.
I think we can.
And by the way, that's a theoretical number too.
Once we get the numbers down,
You need to get it to 0.0, dumbass.
with our screen different methods we're doing and stay down.
0.7 means it's for every, so let's say
cruise as we
2,
might.
1.4 people, every 20,
It's
every
when it
10,
starts
7
to
people
then
get
start to
infected.
double
Out
up.
of those 7,
And
let's
the
say there was
RE
70, there's
goes from
49
0.7 to
infected. So
0.9.
from 100, you get
And it's
70,
on the
then
graphs.
49.
Then we have a problem. So
the
what
next
we're
should be
saying this time as we
35.
enter the framework with the tenuousness of it, we're going to
And
watch
somewhere
that
along the way, it will
ramp
mutate
that
again.
Pick up rate back up again if the numbers show it's increasing.
World power
So
controlling the
it's
world power.
one being monitored very carefully. We know there's a lot of pressure. People
The LA
are
virus.
wanting to are suffering economically and personally because of the situation. So it's a fine balance between
Hey, I found that trick. You know when you sleep wrong and you heard your.
a medical model to do the
I
population. It's
slept
like
on
some
it
kind
on
of major
purpose,
event, you put them
wrong.
on
They
bed.
fixed it. I'm a
That's
doctor
safe, but after a while, if
too.
you leave
Physician
the pillow on
healed
the bed,
myself.
other things can happen. But if you don't jump out of the bed, you could ask for another reoccurrence of the event. So you have to be very careful what you mean by starting to mobilize a bit and move a bit with all the precautions in place. So we're not opening up. We're allowing some things to be available, but we want even more personal adherence to the stay at home, to the masking, to limiting your household contacts. All that has to be really carefully done in the next number of weeks if we're going to get that RE down to close to 0.7.
Follow up, and this is the last question.
Thanks. This is Dr. Brown. Is the reopening of schools expected to have an impact on that and does the public need to do anything to compensate for any increase?
Sure. So I think the important thing to keep in mind is it's a really important question. Schools tend to amplify what's in the community. So if you've got broad community spread, you'll see that the schools will amplify that. If you want to keep your R down, if you want to prevent the spread of the variant, it means, and you want to keep schools open, which is a very, very important goal, it means you really need to control the spread in the community as much as you can.
Thanks, everyone.
Now you've been listening to the province's latest updates. One set of numbers, the latest modeling, and 2 different stories. The latest modeling showing the effectiveness of public health measures is driving down new cases of COVID and intensive care units are flatlining right now. However, the variants that drive spread faster are here and real and threaten to undo all our preventative measures. We'll have in-depth coverage coming up at the top of the hour. This is 680 News.
680 News Time, 3:56.
Now the 680 News Business Report. Here's Richard Southern.
Watching cannabis stocks go right into the toilet, I'm afraid. We had a big run-up the past couple of days for cannabis-related stocks. The Reddit crowd was getting interested in this trade. Today, that trade unraveled. We got all the big names deep in the hole. Canopy Growth down 21%, now $51.98. Organograms down almost 40%. Tilray, which was up 50% yesterday, is down 50% right now. Greg Taylor is with Purpose Investments.
Some of the big
So you start at $100. 50% up is 150. 50% down? No, it's about 175.
but it just feels like
Same number up and down.
It's well beyond where
They lost
really
25%.
should be fundamentally at. Short term, we're seeing a lot of give back, but on fairly heavy volume, which is really from the day traders.
And as a result of TSX falling from a record, TSX down 74 points at 18,381 with just minutes left in the trading day. On Wall Street, the Dow's down 27 points, 31,410, close to a record. S&P's up 4. NASDAQ in record territory up 41 points, trading about the 14,000 point mark. Hormel Foods, this is interesting. We got some news out of the food business. Hormel Foods is buying Planters peanuts from Kraft. And they're paying a lot more than peanuts. They're actually paying $3.3 billion for Millis to buy the Planters snack brand from Kraft. And the price is probably so high because snack food is like hot right now. The pandemic is driving demand for packaged foods. Everyone's at home, they're looking to snack. And Hormel already makes Skippy peanut butter, so perhaps adding Planters to the mix kind of makes sense for that company. Got the price of oil down at $57.88. Gold's down to $16. The Canadian dollar at 78.7 cents US. A lot of big stories today. We know what's going to happen with March break. The new COVID modeling numbers are in. We got all the news, the top stories coming up next, right here on 680 News.
All weekend long, the Today Showstopper at TSC will be an exclusive bundle featuring the Beats Solo Pro noise-canceling Bluetooth headphones, including bonus audio subscriptions. You'll get inspired with sound the way you want it.
That honk was not hey, look out. It was, we're coming through and not stopping. So what can they tell us? So we're looking at thousands of cases by, what they say, March or May? I fucking missed it again. It's either March or May. Now what do I do? Remember, I got to make it another 364 days, 365, I guess, nominally, to exceed that life expectancy, 38, 42, or 53. I have not beat the life expectancy. I've met it. I have another 364 days of this bullshit. Yeah. I got to go back to sleep and sleep on it. I got to, like, twist. I got to, like, fuck my arm up royally and then put all the weight on it I can, and maybe that'll fix it. So I ain't got much.
Bonjour, ici Françoise Pelletier à Toronto. Il est 16h. Voici les informations.
There you go, buddy. Here's your chance. Dump on us, dump on us.
Le ministre de l'Éducation indique que le congé scolaire aura lieu, mais un mois plus tard que prévu, afin de réduire la transmission communautaire de la COVID-19 et pour protéger la population de nouveaux variants du coronavirus, mais aussi pour empêcher les familles de voyager et les jeunes de se rassembler. Stephen Lecce assure que sa décision a été prise après avoir consulté les scientifiques de la table de consultation sur la COVID-19 et le médecin hygiéniste en chef de l'Ontario. Les réactions n'ont pas tardé. Les 4 principaux syndicats d'enseignants dans la province s'opposent vivement au report de la semaine de relâche parce que cette décision ne tient pas compte des élèves et des familles, ni des travailleurs et travailleuses de l'éducation. Reporter le congé de mars d'1 mois démontre, selon eux, que le gouvernement Ford ne s'est pas planifié et qu'il devrait mettre en place des mesures précises s'il est si préoccupé par les déplacements et les rassemblements de citoyens pendant la semaine de relâche. Scène judiciaire maintenant. La défense de Kevin Morris soutient que la peine que l'homme noir a reçue en 2018 pour possession d'armes était justifiée à cause du racisme systémique dont son client a été victime toute sa vie à Toronto. La couronne en appelle de la décision d'un tribunal inférieur qui lui a imposé une peine clémente d'1 an de prison plutôt que les 4 ans qu'elle réclamait. Jean-Philippe Nadeau assiste aux audiences virtuelles.
La défense de Kevin Morris rappelle que le juge de première instance a vu juste lorsqu'il a pris en considération le lourd passé du jeune homme noir au moment de le condamner. Elle rappelle que son client a perdu son père à 7 ans et qu'il a été élevé par sa mère qui gagnait un revenu précaire. Maurice a dû abandonner l'école à cause de ses difficultés d'apprentissage. Il vivait dans un quartier violent où il a été témoin de meurtre. Il a lui-même été poignardé et ensuite heurté par une autopatrouille de police. Il souffre d'un syndrome de stress post-traumatique qui lui fait craindre les policiers en particulier. Ces difficultés se sont poursuivies ensuite en détention à cause de ses problèmes de santé mentale. La défense affirme ainsi que la pauvreté, la violence et l'injustice sont inhérentes au racisme systémique. La discrimination devrait donc être prise au sérieux dans la détermination d'un châtiment, conclut-elle, puisqu'elle s'attaque à l'identité profonde des individus qui en sont victimes. La couronne soutient au contraire que le racisme dans la société ne devrait pas entrer en ligne de compte au moment de déterminer la peine d'un individu reconnu coupable d'un crime grave. Ici Jean-Philippe Nadeau, Radio-Canada, Meaford.
L'unité des enquêtes spéciales conclut qu'un garçon d'1 an a été abattu par la police à la suite de l'écrasement de la camionnette de son père contre une voiture de police à Kawartha Lakes. L'organisme indique que sa conclusion est fondée sur les résultats d'une autopsie et d'une analyse médico-légale des taches de sang et d'autres preuves. Le garçonnet a été abattu lors d'une altercation entre son père et la police, alors qu'un agent qui déposait une ceinture à pointe a été blessé le 26 novembre dernier. Le père de 33 ans est décédé plus tard des suites de ses blessures à l'hôpital. Une petite ville du nord de l'Ontario met fin à son programme de collecte de recyclage à domicile. La municipalité de Marathon, dans le nord-ouest, invoque une augmentation.
Avec la firme GFL Environmental pour le recyclage à domicile, parce que le coût a augmenté de 120 000 $ cette année pour atteindre un total de plus de 300 000 $. Une telle hausse aurait entraîné une augmentation de taxes foncières pour les contribuables de 3 300 habitants. Le conseil municipal a jugé que la ville ne pouvait plus se permettre
educators, education staff, students, and parents.
The education minister says postponing March break is an important way that schools can help limit community transmission, and they recognize that congregation is a key driver of the spread of COVID-19, something they realized over the winter break, and they won't take that risk again. Phil Martino, 680 News.
This is 680 News. Health experts are advising the Ontario government. They say the aggressive vaccination and maintaining a stay-at-home order will help the province avoid a third wave and another lockdown. In new COVID projections issued in the last hour, they say public health measures have cut case counts, hospitalizations, and positivity rates. Dr. Brown says if the B117 variant behaves like it did in the UK, cases here will start to grow in late February or early March.
We've shown that we can turn the curve, and we've done it twice now in Ontario. The same public health measures that work against the old variant work against the new variant.
What's old variant?
The vaccines are good news.
We're still on variant. What old variant?
The vaccines we are using in Ontario today
you mean COVID
work
too?
against these new variants.
He says vaccination efforts of residents in long-term care homes has started to pay off with a declining number of daily deaths. The province, by the way, reporting fewer than 1,000 new cases today, but there is again some underreporting.
The Special Investigations Unit has determined how a 1-year-old boy died during a police-involved shooting in Kawartha Lakes in November. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live with those results. Mark.
Slojana, an alleged parental abduction that led to a police shootout near Lindsay left a 1-year-old boy and his father dead. And the SIU says today it was, in fact, gunfire from the OPP, not from the father, that killed that boy. From the OPP Association, Scott Mills had to keep his emotions in check while responding to the news.
Nobody goes to work as a police officer with the intent to hurt or harm anyone. And
actually, sociopaths and psychopaths are drawn to that type of work, dumbass. That's okay. You're a police officer, not a criminologist, so it's okay. He's not expected to know that.
For everybody.
But he's incorrect. He's not expected to expect every fucking creep in the world to want to work next to him. That would fuck with his head all day.
The pickup truck from the Peterborough area was stopped by Kawartha Lakes OPP. The SIU offering no insights for now on how that escalated into such a violent encounter between 3 police officers and a 33-year-old father. But the watchdog agency says its investigators have received new reports on the evidence collected at the scene and the determination that the 1-year-old boy
in touch
was
with your
killed by the
dispatch,
police.
whatever it may be. And you follow him, and you just keep following him till he runs out of gas. That's why you're supposed to keep your tank topped up.
This is 680 News. Canada will see a significant ramp up.
Oh, spike strips, yeah. Boom, the car spins out and hits a tree. That's why you don't use spike strips. They don't use spike strips very often. They use what they call razor. How do I explain? Instead of punching a big hole in the tire, make it go boom, they put little tiny holes. And maybe a couple miles down the road, there's no more air left in your tires.
168,000 from Moderna. Major General Danny Forte is confident the provinces will be able to handle this major increase in distribution.
There's still more work to do for sure at all levels in the coming weeks.
How do I do that?
The provinces have solid plans.
While the deliveries will ramp up, with the current numbers we're seeing, we're still well short of the target of 6 million doses in the first quarter. However, officials say we're still on track, and they expect the final shipments from Pfizer and Moderna in March to make up the gap. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
This is 680 News. Businesses in Toronto aren't scheduled to reopen until at least next week, but at least one small group was planning to defy lockdown measures. 680's Moment Crunchy joins us all with that story and reaction from Mayor Tory. Moment.
So, Jan, there was a movement online for several hundred businesses to band together and open today despite the lockdown orders, saying that they needed to reopen.
You people hate each other on a good day.
And to get back to business, Mayor Tory saying that he understands that type of thing.
I would say first and foremost that I understand the frustration.
Is there a reason here? What if this is going to keep happening? I'm going to just leave. I got shit to do, Doug. I'll give a fuck about it.
A terrible toll on businesses, especially the smaller ones.
But as far as opening up shop, that's something that he does not agree with.
And at any time, in effect, breaking the law is never the right way to go. It's not a good role model.
Angry pedophile is here. Up and down, up and down, up and down. This is what you do to little kids, eh? You make their TV set do weird shit and put weird noises through their speakers. Settings has stopped. That's wonderful because no one is using settings for anything right now except maybe you. Except maybe you.
On our mobile app and on your smart speaker.
This is the human element. I sat here for an hour. As soon as I started using the mouse, Buddy started dumping. Did he do it on the hour? I'm not sure because the arm was all fucked up. That could have been from the previous, though.
We have been replacing vinyl.
You're not a hacker, bro.
Aluminum windows for
You're
over
not a
30
hacker.
years. No job is
You're a
too big or too
pedophile.
small.
You're not a
So let
hacker.
us beautify your home
You
and
need to
improve
take
your home
the
energy
hacker
efficiency.
tattoo and
If
write
your
child
rooms are leaky,
molester.
Call Tom Rokiki.
Keep
For
it
more
up
information,
and down,
visit us at
up
our
and
Factory
down.
Direct showroom or at inlinefiberglass.com. Now, 680 News.
I don't give a crap. I got enough weed. I can sit here or just go get more. I don't give a fuck. So you're getting angry.
There's a new star on the scene.
You're getting angry and jealous. Oh, I've been denied my birthright of what? You let somebody fuck you in the ass and you're mad that you never got us. So I don't see what the problem is.
And now, at the award season sales event, use the 2021
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep dumping. You know what happens to dump truck lawyers? They get dumped on. Really. You know what happens to superintendents? They get dumped off the roof.
4 months with 0 down. Conditions apply. Storing free gas sure feels like a win. Hi, I'm John from Speedy Glass.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Come on, buddy. You're the hacker. Get with it. Where's your fucking high-speed internet, bro? Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, over and over and over and over. Okay, keep it up. Well, it's my Wi-Fi, so I want it connected. All I know is if you disconnect it, that's because you want it that way for a reason. So I am going to keep reconnecting it.
So right now, if you're traveling onto the westbound Gardner,
So what exactly do you think you get out of this aside from being documented?
Really heavy delays approaching the DVP.
You're attacking a rat trap router.
Then if you're in that area,
A rat trap router. Oh,
from Queen
put
to
it
the
all
Gardner
back.
area,
That's good.
really heavy. So
You're
it's pretty
attacking
much
a
just
rat
going
trap
through that
router.
stretch altogether. Once
Network
again,
name
QEW, we have
DOS.
from Fort
DOS.
out to Trafalgar, then from Dorval
What
to
makes you
Irvine,
think you're being
and from
smart
Brooklyn
to do
west of
this?
Appleby. It is a much better drive on the eastbound QEW.
Yeah, up and down, up and down, up and down, but it's an exploit, so I can still access this top menu bar thing here, so I'm going to quickly, because you keep forgetting that. Or you're a different piece of shit, because I've had this conversation 8 times this week. And after I do this, dipshit disappears and goes away.
Ontario Express made us collectors to approaching Mississauga.
Oh,
If you're on the eastbound,
oh,
volume across that route. 427 to
You hear white
400
people that are
express
junkies talk like that?
collectors. Expensive busy from Allen to Young. Collectors
It's
busy from Bayview to
NNNH. It's
Leslie.
as opposed to
And then we have
OH.
delays through the Durham region approaching Westney to east of Salem. Whether you're looking or listing, credentials matter. Go with the Boundary-Wise accredited agent.
You are
and make sure
retarded,
your
bro.
agent is
Not that I would ever
Boundary-Wise.
accuse a child molester of being
Boundary-Wise.ca.
intelligent.
And with a look at the forecast, here's
You
Natasha
are fucking
Ramsahar.
retarded.
Right, so after the sun today, we've got some snow tomorrow. Now, it's
You
mainly
think
gonna
somehow
affect
you're gonna get
Hamilton
killed
over
for doing this?
towards,
And I don't know
St.
what.
Catharines,
You're
right?
trying to
Winter
run
weather travel advisory
pedophiles.
placed for
Never,
tomorrow
ever
there.
are
We'll get
suicidal. I don't
flurries
know
in
why.
Toronto. It's a pretty cloudy day, waking up to -15, and afternoon temperature -7 to
If you were
-8.
suicidal, you wouldn't be doing
Below
this.
seasonal and a
You're
gusty
trying to
northeast
taunt and
wind, but
tease
again,
and
along the
torment.
QEW out through the west end of Lake
I know.
Ontario.
You go
Watch
after
for snow.
people
It'll be
from,
about 5
you
to
get
10
the list of
centimeters,
the
but blowing
victims and
around. Speaking of snow, Saturday,
people that testify.
West End is
court
going to
cases.
start
We
in
know,
with
'cause
some
those are all
snow,
on the
upwards
internet.
of
You
5
harass them.
centimeters by the end of
I'm
Saturday,
supposed to
and then
go,
an additional
oh,
5
it never
centimeters possible
stops. It's the
overnight with
worst
blowing
thing
snow
in the
in
world.
Toronto.
Afro
On
Dutch are
Saturday,
the most
-9.
raped people in the
Overnight
world.
tonight down to a low of -15 degrees.
Rolls
Right
off
now
our
it's
back, but
-6,
you
wind
never
chill
got
-12 at
us.
Pearson.
You're mad that the whole West End here is a gangster hood. You've been here longer than Toronto, dog.
Cannabis stocks took the
You don't think you know something? You know, the Park Zone, it's a neighborhood in Toronto. Nope. The Junction, it's a neighborhood in Toronto. Nope.
Points, about 1/3%. At 18,
You're long before Toronto, nigga. We've had people trying to steal our children for hundreds of years. Why? Because that's how we fight. Oh, yeah.
Trade unraveled in a big way.
And you're mad that you didn't get us. You're your crew, not you personally. Boo. All of you.
On Wall Street, the
Oh,
Dow was up 7 points.
yes, you did.
Small loss there.
All of you.
31,430. S&P was up 6. The Nasdaq.
I tell you, the same as the car. The cop will put on a uniform. Oh, blue blood, blue line. You see, you guys, I didn't do it. But I never seen you before in my life. Obviously, I wasn't talking about you personally.
And learn more at dynamic.ca.
I call up companies. I got fucking women yelling at me like I'm their boyfriend or something. Are you fucking stupid? I don't know you. Obviously, call them your employer, dickhead.
That's why right now you can lease a 2020
What are you gonna do? You stopped for 3 minutes straight. Whatever you were doing, you stopped. The last 3 minutes, I got you in rapture or something.
APR for 48 months with $5,700 down. 382 in stock as of February 3rd,
He's
2021.
talking to us. He's talking to us. I got shit to do.
Or shop safely at your local Ontario Toyota dealer.
Prioritizing your family
I got no reason to stand
and
here.
getting an annual eye exam is an essential part of it.
You're
So visit
done?
your neighborhood Provision.
No, as soon as I write the joint, you're gonna flip up. Well, I got shit to do, and I got like 8 hours to do it. So I believe any time. Sit on the edge of your seat, pedo. I can't call you a hacker because you're not a hacker. You don't break into anything. You just keep throwing things at the side of the building.
2021. Exams available at the Independent Doctors of Optometry app or next to Provision.
Number 1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News. It's sunny, cloudy in downtown Toronto, -6 at Pearson. It feels like -12. Good afternoon, I'm James Monroe.
I'm Sljana Timmons. Here are the top stories right now.
Breaking news from the Ford government. It has announced March break will be delayed and now scheduled for April
From my
12th
point
to
of view,
16th.
every second
Teachers'
that you
unions
spend harassing me.
Provincial health authorities updating the latest trends on the spread.
Oh, no,
They
it's
say
not
the
one, it's
B117
two-fold
variant
day.
behaves like it did in the UK. Cases here in Ontario will begin to spike.
You're not
around
doing
the
something
end
to
of
some little
February
kid,
and
and
early
you
March.
are getting
Provincial
tracked
modeling
the fuck down,
concludes the UK variant is 5 to 10% of
We
all
don't
cases
call
in
the
the
cops,
province.
bro.
And the special investigation.
Oh, I
unit
mean, we
has
can.
determined
What
one-year
I'm saying
boycott
is,
as a result of a
we don't
police
rely on the
in Court of
police
the
to do
Lakes
everything we
in
do.
November.
Time for 680 Sports.
From Sportsnet, folks.
You ever hear a child molester go off on how people are rats? People are rats. You ever hear that? The idiot about 2 weeks ago telling me that he gave me AIDS and all this other shit. Everyone's a rat because they won't let him molest children. And his daughter will forgive him and kill off anybody that does anything to him. He's a child molester's headspace. His victims will stand up and fight for him if you try to stop him from raping children. No, they won't, but that's Mr. I gotta watch what I say, not because I get in trouble, but it gives them the right to adjust the audio on my videos. So. I got no reason to stand here, bro. I gotta go right now. Oh, you hate it when I leave. You hate it. That 2 hours and 45 minutes shit, that's the local police with no warrant, no wiretap. That's who's doing that. The people who keep knocking me off right when these press conferences are timed and shit, those are Rogers technicians. There's a whole fucking crew of pedophiles there, we know. But you hook your boys up with free cable, don't you? I am the man. I am the man. Yeah, here's a bad man. Who the fuck would any of you think of what I'm saying? I know all these people. Ted Rogers, he's got a swastika for the logo of his company, and you all think somehow paying him will get you good credit. Rogers don't report nothing to the credit bureaus. And that word bureau, desk, means nothing. Means nothing. It's not government anything. It's not more than 6 years for credit. It's 3 years. Every 3 years you got to file taxes, and they can go back up to 3 years and get you in trouble. Whatever. I know everybody knows everything. No, you don't. All the sex offenses you commit in other countries, you are simultaneously committing offense here in Canada. And since I'm the U.S. Army, our purview is worldwide, wherever we say we want it to be. We work with Canadian forces and MPs, and their purview is wherever they say they want it to be. Where exactly are you gonna? You're not gonna be no big thing of glory like Osama, bro. The difference is Osama bin Laden can't be proven to have ever existed. 58 brothers and sisters. You know what you do? You take a shitload of photos of his family and just cut and paste them together. There you go. There's Osama. There's no body, no video, no picture, no nothing. He's never been seen live on TV ever. You want the fucking thing of glory, yeah? You could have it, but you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it.
1104 steps, 1 steps per minute, 1.10 kilometers, 1.6 kilometers per hour, 54 calories per.
I've been waiting 20 minutes for Buddy to fucking do something. No. Well, the first 4 times that my inputs were getting reversed, I figured that would go on for hours. That would make it seem like a proper glitch. I pointed out what you are and what you do, and now I'm going to point out some more. You listen to your buddies. Well, I'll do this and I'll do that. You didn't watch any of the videos. You didn't even think of where you found the cut and paste code. So now we all know. I'm tapping on the rotor. We all know. Yep, you're a child exploiting sex offender. Yes, you are. You're an internet-enabled pedophile. That's nothing, bro. It's not special in any way. It's not special, brethren.
1110 steps.
Come on, you got to keep up the glitches over and over and over. So I go crazy because it's his computer. It's garbage. It's his fault. Come on. That alarm's been going off every hour for 2 years, and it's only been the last 6 months at the top every hour. The computer starts going to the internet 3 or 4 minutes before the top, or something, sorry, internet activity starts happening. Right, it's not the alarm. The alarm doesn't engage till after the so-called top of the hour. I don't use that term, but I have to now because I mentioned it once that in Canada, radio stations are required to broadcast their call sign at the quote unquote top and bottom of every hour. Oh hell, these guys fucking so stupid, missed the point of what I said. 2 college stations and the First Nation station off the air for this arbitrary rule, and yet Flow 93.5 is still. Oh, you're mad. I said flow. Oh, there's a keyword. Hey, we got it twice in a row. That was row. I said flow, and then I said flow, and then I said row. Your finger's itchy, bro. So in 1990, $8.99, they were looking at giving a radio station license to a consortium of people that wanted to make it a Black history, Black culture, Afro-Canadian, Afro-Caribbean station. And with no justification, because I've read what there is to read on it, they gave it to a private company that would play top 40. And it's still playing today, 22 years later. You know, let's drive drunk and drink Bacardi and get a Rolex and a Jaguar. Every fucking song. That's why I can't stand KPT for 25 years. I didn't watch it. Now it's all light-skinned black people. I had no fucking idea. I had no idea there were that many of them on TV. No, go look. They're black people. The racist people, but look closer. The skin tone is sickle cell. Yep. Sickle cell. Did you see how these people get confused? I'm talking about radio stations being pulled for racist reasons. They hear, oh, top and bottom of the hour. So his alarm goes at the top and bottom of the hour because he thinks he's this and he thinks he's that. So we'll attack him at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour. Okay, we don't have to coordinate with it. For a month and a half or so, for about a month, yeah, every half hour, the shit starts happening. Now I got a question. What's the subroutine causing that? So these alarm notifications telling me in an hour, in 2 hours, there will be an alarm. They come up exactly when the last one clears. But they all started coming up on the half-hour mark for some reason for a couple weeks there. Yeah, so it's Android. It's a corrupt fucking OS from the beginning. They sell it to you cracked. Then you guys can't figure out how to hack it. You've had 6 months, you still haven't done it. So there's African kids. So they did an experiment where they did a study, whatever. They gave a bunch of Android cell phones to some African kids. That's why I keep mouthing off. A 6-year-old African kid with no English could fucking out-hack you with no instructions. They didn't give them any instructions. They just gave them the phones. And step by step, I forget. But the point is, within 6 months, they had cracked the Android operating system. Could make it do whatever they wanted. With no instructions. They didn't grow up with computers everywhere, bank machines and payphones, and oh, maybe if I do this, this will happen. They didn't watch it on TV. Well, I guess they could watch it on their phone, I guess. I'm waiting for you guys to do something. You're not going to do nothing. I'm bored here. If I can't get hatred from sex offenders, and I feel ignored. Yeah, it sounds stupid, doesn't it? Like, you sound stupid. You're stopping us from having... Right. NAMBLA, right? I'm going to go back to Howard Stern. 90 minutes for the people that love him, listen to him. And an hour and an hour and a half for the people that love him, listen to him. 2.5 hours for people that hate him. Why? Can't wait till you hear what he says next. Well, SoundCloud's broken. I guess I'm out of here. Watch it magically start working again. Yep, I'm reaching for the mouse. Jam it the fuck up. Click. Remember that day? That was only 2 months ago. That was 2 different days. We did it twice on 2 different days. 4 times. Click, and the track skipped. I kept reaching for it, and it's going click, click, click. And then I reached for it and yelled, click, and Buddy hit his fucking control box, I guess. Then he must have bought off the dark web. Wow. Tell you what, bro, I'm not restarting this machine. If it don't keep running, it's like a diesel. If it don't keep running, I'm gonna leave it there.
My family matters like herbivore. We like herbivore. I never heard of y'all. Bullets, they couldn't hurt me, bro. I behind that glass to my black knife. Shot about emotion in your life.
So, come on. See? They're trying to test me to see what. Why don't you show up and follow me around the neighborhood? You should see these crackheads trying to harass me. And the things they scream are things about themselves, eh? You see these people when they get wasted. Double chocolate chip muffin, man. It's the doubled up double cup, man. The doubled up double cup, double. We're going to go at this another 5 times, aren't we? That's what I said, isn't it? So, click. No.
It's like Black Lives Matter. I always knew that dreaming came easily, but now I'm having dreams that niggas keep putting heat to me.
So this starts up in the middle of the track at the beginning of my video. This was what was playing when I got
Niggas know
online.
the clan that I fuck with, believe me.
If one media interrupts another one, that application stays ready
Niggas know the deal when we pull up
to
in
go.
like 3 bands. A voodoo man trying to shoot me, watch it heat jam.
It only took what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes?
Trapping all day, trying to find a way to get about it. I know that shit don't last long. Either I be dead and gone or them cups are on my wrist. And I'm just
Well, now the delay on the viewfinder is getting longer too. What are you doing, bro? You're a pedophile that works with ISPs and government.
This ain't how it's supposed to be.
You tell people I'm a white supremacist. You tell them you're black. You ain't got one drop of black blood, bro.
Trapping all day, trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day, man. I'm just trapping all day, trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day, man. I'm just trapping all day, fucking trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day.
A part of that's on me.
Penitentiary chances or a casket laid out. Them the only 2 ways the shit plays out.
But that's the only part. Well, I'm plugged in, so I couldn't have stopped it the first 2 times. No, I forgot my mask. It was double ply, 2 ply. I'm holding a shitload of water in it.
I'm out here lonely on the block, cause my homies on live. This ain't how it's supposed to be. Niggas know it's tamperage. When push on the strap, we gotta have it. And don't say a word about that thing that spits rapid. Niggas won't hesitate to put his face on a pamphlet. Your hustle's backed up. My hustle been doing backflips. SKs that fold out. Hollows been constant show outs. Rolling with.
Oh, come on. Yeah, it's logged up now. Okay, well, I guess I'm just leaving. I'll smoke this on my own in the hood, bro. I've smoked 2 fucking cigarettes waiting to light the fucking spliff. I'm not gonna go through this. There's no fucking point. I'll roll through the hood, stink up the whole alleyway. You're getting mad. You're getting madder and madder and madder. If you could see the screen, you'd understand why I say that. Buddy must be just slamming on his touch screen right now. Come on. Come on, pussy.
Hello. This call is from the tax department of
I
Federal
don't need the
Revenue
demo.
Agency.
Yeah, keep it up.
The reason
Keep it up.
behind this call
Keep
is
it up.
that
3.
there is a case, a lawsuit that
I'm
is
gonna count
getting
that as 2
filed
more.
under your name.
Come
The
on.
moment you
Keep it up,
message,
pussy.
I need you to get back to me on my department division number. That is 647-945-9545.
8 times in the last 30 seconds, bro. Keep it up.
Now, if I
Keep it
don't
up.
hear a call
Keep it
from
up,
you,
Script
we
Kitty.
will have.
Keep it up, Script Kitty.